reserves rise for the first time in 11 months, up by $449.5 million. Airlines and tourism operators seek $10 billion relief to save industry. Plus, Asian stocks trade higher as Nasdaq turns positive for 2020. The program is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Muplang Dakok. So good to know you're with us on Business Express. Figures from the Central Bank of Nigeria reveal that after 10 months of consistent decline, the country's foreign reserves returned to a growth path, gaining $449.5 million in 1 week. The reserves rose from $33.44 billion in April, ending to $33.89 billion on May 5th, 2020. The reserves had slipped into a decline after hitting a high of $45.17 billion on June 11, 2019, losing $11 billion at $33.89 billion as of April 28, 2020. During the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting, the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, said the committee noted the weakened revenue position of the federal government arising from the sharp drop in oil prices and reiterated the need for government to urgently reduce reliance on oil by gradually diversifying the economy and improving tax collection. The dollar slipped on Friday as investors defied a broader sense of doom around upcoming U.S. employment data and found reason to buy riskier currencies with more governments slowing reopening of their economies for business. The survival of the travel and tourism industry in Nigeria and other African countries has been hinged on foreign relief packages in excess of $10 billion. The estimate released by a coalition of international travel and tourism bodies says it would save the businesses from collapse and keep millions of jobs. Beside the $10 billion worth of relief, the coalition also sought access to as much grant-type financing and cash flow assistance as possible to inject liquidity and provide targeted support to severely impacted countries. The sector contributes $169 billion to Africa's economy combined, representing 7.1% of the continent's gross domestic product, GDP. Still on the coronavirus pandemic, a number of businesses depend on the aviation sector to survive. The rise in such activities helped push up the contribution of the sector to the nation's GDP in recent time. However, global trade has slowed and businesses have recorded losses across board, paving way for necessary adjustments to closed borders. Let's join Benny Adams on surviving COVID-19.
Golda Meir Shekari is into importation of footwears and clothing from China and also imports perfumes from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Before COVID-19, she says business has been good. But with the skies closed to flights, the price of cargo went up to the point that what will cost one 1,000 naira per kilogram to import now costs 7,000 naira, a 600% increase.
You are having to pay even much more than the cost of purchase and the original cost of cargo all over again just to bring them. Now people are faced with, do we just abandon the goods in China? Because if you bring them, how can you sell them? Something you were going to sell for 5,000, you're having to use another probably 7,000 to cargo it. So it's getting to you at almost 11,000 and the value is 5,000. For you to even get your capital out, you cannot sell it less than 12,000. So the alternative is sea shipping, but it is not a very good alternative. Your capital is tied down, you can't do nothing, you can't move your business forward. By the time your goods come, the enthusiasm is gone. You know, the turnover you would have got in the short period of time by air, which doesn't take more than 10 days, you've lost it.
On looking inwards, Golda Meir has this to say.
We actually have what we require. The things we produce in Nigeria, like for instance, is the footwears we import from China. They are made. We have them in Aba, and probably they might have the same quality or even better qualities. But how do I want to tell my customers that come and buy this shoe is made in Aba? First of all, they will laugh at you. Okay, they want to hear that it's UK. They want to hear that it's China for export, it's China for the US. Oh, that this is good, and then they'll patronize it. But when you tell them, it's my brother that made it, they don't want to buy. So looking in what right now, yes, we are considering it, but we are also at the moment looking for ways to get those things probably at those expensive prices, because Nigerians are still buying them even at the high costs. They'll rather buy foreign goods than buy the cheaper ones that are made here.
While coronavirus remains, she says looking inwards is now the most viable option, the new normal.
Nigeria's aviation sector has been losing about 21 billion naira monthly since the outbreak of COVID-19 in the country. Minister of Aviation Hadis Rika says the huge loss is associated with lack of activities in the sector, whose income solely depends on flight operations. While noting that the sector is in a very difficult moment, Hadis Rika added that it was a result of the importation of the virus into the country, which came with their consequences.
We want to come back more than yesterday because if you look at what is going on, all of the income of that sector depends upon when you fly. And we're not able to do so. So this is really weighing on us heavily as an aviation industry. So we try the best that we can to resume as quickly as we can to ensure that the resumption is safe, resumption is secure, resumption is very efficient, and in the manner that we keep all of us safe and secure. And finally, I think maybe it's the time when we can.
That gives the industry breakdown as 7 billion naira for aviation agencies, which they lose in a month, 10 billion naira for airline, and 4 billion naira for ground handling. Catering and other businesses around the industry, he says, are losing around 3 billion naira. To shed more light on the aviation industry in the face of COVID-19 are two aviation experts joining us via Skype from Lagos. Mr. Olumide Onuayo, an aviation analyst, is a public relations officer, Aviation Roundtable, which is a professional think tank group in the industry. We also have Mr. Tayo Ojuri, an aviation consultant. Welcome to Business Express, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, nice to be here.
Right, so I'll begin with you, Mr. Olumide. The federal government had to shut down international airports following the outbreak of COVID-19 in the country. How will you describe the implications and the impact of this on the economy?
Well,
the government had to do what they need to do in order to save the country from the pandemic. And in doing that, they like what is happening in other parts of the world. They have to shut the airports to save the country from getting more people involved in the pandemic with the virus. You know, so which has already cut around the world. So if you look at if you come to the economy, well, for us in the industry, everything is shut down right now. All the airlines are down, and with our contribution to the GDP now, all is on hold now. We used to have about $1.7 billion that the admission industry brings in, but now everything is on hold. Job of about 124,000 Nigerians are at risk at the moment, and all airlines are parked, routes shut. The only operations allowed now are chartered flights, and which must be approved by the government. Then the other ones are the ones for repatriating Nigerians and those and for repatriating foreigners from Nigeria to their respective countries. That's what we have in operation at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll now go to Mr. Tayo. Mr. Tayo, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. So the skies have been locked now, or they are closed now for the next 4 weeks for the aviation industry. How do you see things playing out for the industry?
Well, the foundation factors that led to the closure, like Olumide rightly said, are still existing at the moment. Unfortunately, we're still seeing the numbers going higher. With the increase, we have lots of travel restrictions and border closures. We have passengers that are not ready to travel. They're very skeptical about travel. Most of all, you have lots of global airlines and domestic airlines struggling with financials. Then we don't have a solution to the COVID-19 pandemic yet. Over and beyond this, economy, which is a big driver for aviation, has been low globally and in Nigeria specifically. We've seen, like you rightly started, we've seen a decline in our reserves. We've seen a decline in our disposable income. So with that is affected, and it would affect aviation for a long time to come. A forecast and estimates is showing that we're not going to see the 2019 numbers for the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay, Mr. Tayo, I'll still remain with you. At the end of 2018, the aviation sector was the fastest growing sector in the country. The same thing played out in the fourth quarter of 2019. The aviation sector became the fastest growing sector. But now statistics are showing us that there's huge impact with the lockdown of the economy on the aviation industry. And can you reveal to us how exactly are the losses? What are the shapes they are taking? What are the forms that these losses are taking?
The forms, it's actually very high, very significant, but we need to set out a foundation, which trends and studies have shown over time that aviation is the first to get hit once there's an economic shock, and it's the last to come back. That's why aviation, like you rightly said, is a good indicator of the lag or the lagging feature of the economy. With that said, we've seen loss that has been coupled up or calculated up to about 17 billion within Nigeria, and about 1.7 billion in Nigeria, and the risk of about 124,000 jobs lost within the sector. We're not even just looking at the sector alone. We look at the direct, the indirect, and catalytic features, direct impact of this economy on other service providers and ancillary services within the sector.
Okay, thank you. So go back to Mr. Olumide. Mr. Olumide, what exactly is happening to airlines? We have heard of job losses in the sector, and especially outside Nigeria. What exactly is happening to jobs in the airlines in Nigeria?
Well, your question is too from the airline itself and jobs in the industry. Now, for the airlines, all they are doing right now is preparing for the post-COVID operations, and in doing that, they're taking care of their crew to ensure that their documentations for resumption are in perfect shape. They are also ensuring they are disinfecting their aircraft and also making efforts to provide a mask for the passenger, for the crew. And also in the post-COVID period, we will not be having the full kitchen anymore, but you might probably be seeing gift packs now to be given aboard the aircraft. So those are some of the things they're doing. Also for their aircraft, they're ensuring it's being maintained. And most importantly, they are battling with the liquidity, how to balance it, knowing that nobody knows when we are going to flatten the curve. Because I know if we don't flatten the curve, flights might not resume both on the domestic and international route. So for that period, there's a delicate balance of what to do with the cash reserve, how to pay the staff, how to run their operations. And you know, some services, some of the infrastructure are calendar based. That's put them under pressure. Some of the airlines aircraft are under lease. You know, so these are all the things that they have to juggle together, both with the owners of those equipment, to see how some rebates that can be given. And as they are waiting for to get some rebates from their service providers and those leasing the equipment and all those calendar bound equipment, they are also waiting for what the Nigerian government is going to do for them. That is very important. At this point in time, the government must call out with some palliatives. I don't want to call it bailout because the industry and companies right now is not happy with the bailout that was given to the industry some time ago. So when you use the word bailout again, people will just say, no, don't give them bailout. This time, I think the word should be palliative. Aviation is the worst hit. This is the worst problem we've ever faced. We've had the 9/11. We've had SARS. We have the economic crisis. But I think for this is the first time all the aircraft are grounded, airports shut. For the other ones, it's always maybe it's a route or maybe a region that is affected. But this time, the whole world is standing down for this coronavirus. And I think the government must look at it.
Do you see the industry bouncing back eventually? And how soon?
But if I tell you that we would bounce back in the next 1 year, that I'll be in a fool's world. We're looking at minimum of about 2 years. So before the industry can get back to that peak that it was before the coronavirus incident, we're looking at about 2023. But for the airline to come back to full service, because one, you need to get the passengers' confidence, and I doubt the passengers will easily want to fly when there's no cure or vaccination in place now for the COVID. It's only when there's a cure and vaccination, people are sure that yes, even if they catch it, they can get over with it. That's when they'll be able to come back to fly. But for the industry, we're already prepared. And they said with the disinfecting of the aircraft and the airport itself, they'll be testing. You have to wear your mask to get on board. And those coming from international flight will require quarantine for about 14 days. So they quarantine for about 14 days, So the industry is getting prepared. But what about the passengers? Have they gotten their confidence back? But that's where we need to getting the confidence of the passengers back. Not only the responsibility of the industry, but also the responsibility of the government. So it is when they see the way we are tackling to restore confidence to put a stop to the spread of coronavirus, then you can see passengers turn to the airspace.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Olumide. We'll just pause you there and go back to Mr. Tayo. Mr. Tayo, there is no visible presence of commercial aircraft parked in Abuja. What will become of these aircraft and runways, as well as other facilities at the airports after the airports are opened?
Well, with the parking now, what some airlines have done to actually stay creative and actually be operational is that they've actually used the aircraft, one for cargo, and that's actually a very creative initiative by most airlines, both domestic as well as global airlines. It's actually come out with a new phase now called Freighter, with using passenger aircraft for freighting services. So we need to actually use those airlines for cargo and for humanitarian goods at the moment, which is actually being optimized, and you're able to use those aircraft appropriately. But post-COVID-19, like Olumide said, there needs to be a common protocol. With the protocol being in place, it would help put things in place. And that protocol would help address issues from the airline perspective, from the airport operations perspective, and from the ancillary service providers perspective, because we know everybody has been actually affected significantly with the COVID-19 pandemic. But what we need to see is, once the passengers start coming into the airport, what is the protocol for checking in? What is the protocol for boarding? What is the protocol for purchase of goods within the airline, within the airport? That all needs to be put in place. Moving forward, for the aircrafts that have been parked on the runways and on the ramps, we realize most of the ramps and the runways are not designated parking areas. So what will be done prior to startup is the safety implementation, whereby the strength of those runways and the strength of the ramp area where the aircraft are parked will be evaluated for safety, to ensure that the pressure has not affected the landing strength of those runways prior to operations.
Okay, Tayo, very quickly. The sector we know is a top employer of labor. What do you see happening to employment or to jobs after the lockdown? Very quickly, please.
What I see happening, obviously there will be some airlines that will go under, because the truth about it is we've seen some airlines had underlying financial issues prior to COVID-19. So this actually just made a worse situation bad. So what would happen is, you see airlines go under, you see people lose jobs, and then even with that, with those that are operating, they'll have to cut services till when the passengers come up. But that's on the side of life.
All right. Thank you very much. I've been speaking to Tayo Ojuri, an aviation consultant. Thank you very much for joining us via Skype from Lagos. Our other guest.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
All right, our other guest, Olumide Owunayo, also via Skype from Lagos. Thank you so much for your time with us on Business Express today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so moving on, stocks in Asia were traded higher Friday after the Nasdaq Composite recovered from its losses for the year overnight. Over to Bosede Abel.
Stocks appear to get a boost Friday, the 8th day of May, from signs that relations between Washington and Beijing are warming, as U.S. and China trade representatives agree to strengthen their cooperation in implementing the Phase 1 trade deal, as the world continues to strive to contain the coronavirus pandemic. European stocks traded higher. Germany's DAX was up 0.75% in early trading, while FTSE 100 is closed Friday in commemoration of Victory in European Day, also known as the VE Day holidays. Asian stocks rose in Friday ahead the release of the U.S. job report for April, with Nikkei jumping 2.56% to close 20,179.09. Shanghai Composite up 0.83% to 2,895.34, and Hang Seng Index also adding 1.04%. U.S. stock futures rose early after more gains in tech led to the Nasdaq Composite erasing all of its losses for 2020. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures were up by 235 points, implying an opening gain of about 211 points. Futures on the S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite also pointed to Friday opening gains for the two indices. Stocks in Africa traded mixed, with South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia's overall index posting gains, while Tunisia's Tunidex, Nairobi's Offshare, and Ghana's GSA Composite Index depreciated.
And still talking stocks, back home in Nigeria, stocks lost steam this Friday at the Nigerian market following profit-taking after a winning streak. The all-share index shaved off 1.27% to close the session at 24,045.4 basis points. Market capitalization closed at 12.531 trillion naira. 208 million equities worth 2.193 billion naira exchange hands exchange hands in 4,320 deals. The banking sector, led by FBN Holdings, GT Bank and Zenith Bank, led activities in the course of the day. And this is where we end this episode of Business Express. Don't forget you can access all previous episodes on YouTube, and you can communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is at NTA News Now. The hashtags is BizX. We value your feedback, so join us again on Monday for another package. And remember to always wash your hands and keep safe as we fight the coronavirus pandemic. I am Muplang Dakok.